In the last video, we looked at the main Land Use Planning Commission zones. If you go back to the main GeoLibrary data catalog, you can also find wetlands categorization, vernal pool centers, deer wintering areas, and inland waterfowl habitat. Let's go ahead and download each one of those. So Control F for wetlands, main wetlands characterization, click and download the shapefile. Likewise for vernal pool center points, download shapefile. Deer wintering areas, download shapefile. And inland waterfowl and wading bird habitat, download shapefile. And just like you did with the main Land Use Planning Commission zones, extract all of those into your working folder. Now I'm going to uncheck the land use zones here. And now I'm going to go ahead into my week 6, double click on the .shps for inland waterfowl, deer wintering areas, vernal pool center points, and what was our last one? We had wetlands characterization. You will notice that a lot of these wetlands are exactly the same lines as you have in the Land Use Planning Commission zones, except for a very few small features like this. So you see the green outline on that? That's also in the same layer here. Exactly the same feature, different attributes though. This one is so small maybe that it's just not ending up in the Land Use Planning Commission zones, but it is in the main wetlands characterization. In any case, for ecological and practical reasons, you do not want to put a big machine there. Unless you want to be the star of the next round of pictures going around the internet of a sunken machine. So I don't see any deer wintering areas in this general area, but we can see this color, inland waterfowl and wading bird habitat, and we have the wetlands characterization here. See, of course, it matters what order these are in their layers panel. See, whichever order they're in here is the order they draw in here. So if I drag wetlands on top, wetlands displays above the inland waterfowl. If I drag inland waterfowl on top, then it displays behind. So now you have what you need to make maps of wetlands, waterfowl, and wetlands, and as the case may be, deer wintering areas, nearest one here being in Allagash. But that doesn't mean there's no deer or no deer yarding up here. That's why we have those P-FW zones here, which I believe includes that spot, and let's check. Main Land Use Planning Commission zones, yes, that is one that may be managed for deer, even though it's not specified as a deer wintering area. So you have different classifications and different ways of getting to a similar goal. Now this vernal pool center points one is a little different. So if we right click and say zoom to layer, we can see some patterns in this data that probably don't reflect the actual presence of vernal pools on the ground. If we take this line here, for example, let's zoom in. What kind of a feature do you think that is? Well, that looks like a power line cut. So I'm guessing that what happened is somebody was either updating, maintaining, getting a permit to do something with this power line cut, or whatever it happens to be. And yeah, let's see, yeah, power lines. And they had to do a survey. That's a good thing in and of itself, but in terms of data quality for the landscape, we have data for that line. We don't have data for any part of this landscape here. We have data for whatever project that was, whatever project that was, whatever project that was. And if your stance happened to be in this general area, you might actually happen to know where some vernal pools are. But there's really no way to know whether these are concentrations where vernal pools are more abundant on the landscape, or if this is just where projects happen to be that located them. So in terms of most practical forest operations, you just have to learn how to recognize them on your own. It's tricky to find them on an air photo, they're practically invisible. What a vernal pool is a small depression where water accumulates. It's sort of an ephemeral pond, if you will. But there's no inlet stream or outlet stream, so fish can't come and eat the eggs of whatever lays its eggs there. So it's very important to the ecology and the nesting of amphibians, the salamanders, the wood frogs, that kind of a thing. But they're very hard to see if you're not looking right at them. If you search main vernal pool forestry, we have main IF&W. Let's right click and open that up, and also main Audubon. Classic drawing here, some of the critters that live in those. The University of Maine, Maine Audubon, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, Department of Conservation, Wildlife Conservation Society, written by Aram Calhoun, originally printed on partially recycled paper, and all sorts of good information for you. And more guidance from Inland Fisheries and Wildlife in a single pager front and back. Summarized from Calhoun et al. 2004, which is the same thing we just read. So there you go. Learn all about vernal pools if you so choose. Just know that you have to take this data layer with a grain of salt. It shows where vernal pools are, but does not show where they are not. Very likely you'll find them where they are not mapped. That's nothing wrong. This is just a map of presence, but is not comprehensive. So if you're working in forestry or some other kind of conservation, make sure you know how to recognize those on the ground and what to do with them as part of your management plan.